Keith was 12 the first time the old man in the well spoke to him. Keith was out playing after dark on the family's small farm near the well. The old well had beams supporting the rope and pulley with a bucket attached. Even though Keith was told that the well ran dry long before he was born, he heard someone say his name in a slow and raspy voice. Keith whirled around and saw no one. A look of confusion spread across his face as he heard it again. "Keith." This time it was said with more force and a bit louder. The voice sounded like one of the old farmers who liked to smoke, thought Keith. Looking down the well, Keith heard the same voice asking, "Have you got anything tasty?" Keith couldn't see anything past the first 12 or so feet down the well, even though it was a full moon. "Who are you? How'd you get down there?" Keith asked. "If you give me something tasty, I'll reward you," replied the voice. All Keith had were some cookies he'd stuffed in his pockets as he left to play. He put those in the bucket and lowered it. He'd lowered it nearly 40 feet and was nearly at the end of his rope when he no longer felt the weight of the bucket on the rope. About a half a minute passed and he felt the weight of the bucket again and began to pull the bucket up. As he finished pulling the bucket up to the top, he heard the voice say, "No nice." He saw a reflection in the bucket and saw a rectangular piece of silver metal, about the same size of an army dog tag. It was completely flat and smooth. "One fresh," the voice said. Even though Keith tried to talk to the old man again, there was no response. Keith made up a story about where he found the metal and took it to his father, who took it into town and confirmed it was an ounce of pure silver. After that, Keith kept it a secret. It took a while to discover that the old man was only there the night of full moons. Keith quickly learned that only live things he put in the well would be rewarded, but only once for each item. Over a long period of time, he had lowered each kind of animal down the well and was rewarded. At this point, Keith now had a cigar box mostly full of silver pieces by the time he was 16, but had run out of different animals to get rewarded for. It was around this time that a local farmhand went missing, the same time that Keith was rewarded with gold pieces for the very first time. Once Keith took them over the farm, temp workers seemed to vanish every now and then without explanation from the farm. Many years later, Keith had completed his studies as a doctor. He was later arrested for his involvement in a grand conspiracy whereby missing persons with no contactable family were abducted from the hospital, never to be seen again. In the following weeks, his private precious metal distribution company went under and filed for bankruptcy.